What's going on, y'all? This is Frank with another episode of Real Raw Exchange Podcast. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Nad.
So, we got two for this week, and that's okay because it's going to be a great conversation anyway. Whether or not we had 10 or if we had three. All right. So, to today's topic is going to be transparency in relationships. Transparency in relationships. So, funny thing is, Nat got in contact with me in reference to wanting to be able to put this topic in one of the episodes, and I was like, that's dope because I so many things that I was thinking about in reference to transparency in relationships as a whole. One particular dynamic that popped in my head is in reference to the fact that I'm married, you know. However, I'm also married and in a long distance relationship, which that dynamic, and let's just be real about it, most people this day and age, especially with how ambitious we are or with what we require when it comes down to standards in a relationship, you know, all of the particular things that most people will say because it's commonplace words that are just thrown out there as far as, oh, I want this, I want that. I want this man
Mm-hmm.
to be making this amount of money. I want this woman to be this level of beauty, you know, like goes back and forth. However, a lot of people wouldn't put themselves in a situation where their loyalty and unapologetic honesty will be tested. And I
Yeah,
say I say those two specifically because it is a lot of that. It is a lot of that. And being honest really about what is actually going on in your mind, what you are thinking, how you are willing to share that and share it honestly with your significant other, be it girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, whatever title you want to use, or spouse, wife, husband, whoever, right?
yeah.
The biggest thing as far as loyalty, loyalty, this is a particular topic that real talk couples, no matter what the couple dynamic is, or what type of relationship you are in, be it monogamy or on the poly side of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what type, loyalty to the dynamic of the relationship as how it was defined in the very beginning is hard. Very
It
hard,
is hard. Yeah.
you know? Especially when there are various dynamics happening within your relationship. Loyalty is difficult because I believe, and this is one particular episode that we did before, I believe because of paradox of choice. There are a lot of choices that people can make this day and age that some of our ancestors, most of our ancestors, let alone, our elders, weren't able to make at our ages,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because they just didn't have access to certain resources back then. To give an example, this particular tool, yes, this is my phone, this particular tool here, in reference to communication, various forms of communication. You know, you can communicate over IG, you can communicate over Twitter, you can communicate over Facebook, on all three of those platforms in various ways. However, you can also communicate over certain apps that are based on dating alone, where
Yeah.
you've heard of the terms swipe left, swipe right, you know, where all of
Tender.
us
Yeah.
Tinder, absolutely. I remember one time when I was, still in the dating side of the game. Uh, I used Tinder. I used Tinder to be able to
Mm-hmm.
meet various women. Now, did I believe I was going to have a long lasting relationship with these women, I tried. I tried to have that belief. However, it really depends on the mindset that you have in reference to using said tool. Now, with all of
Yeah.
this choice, spectrum of choice that we have, it becomes very difficult to now minimize your choices and settle. And a lot of people see settling as a bad thing. I don't see settling as a bad thing. And a lot of people also use that word in a negative context where you have certain people that will say, I will never settle. I will never settle. But you saying that acknowledges your unwillingness to find the particular partner that you want to spend the rest of your life with if you decide to do so. Because often now you have a lot of people that are not willing to just only be with one person. You have a lot of people who opt out of even wanting to be married. You have a lot of people who opt out of wanting to have children. They just like, I can't deal with this. But oftentimes, the reasons why they opt out of certain things is because they're not having a continuous cycle of being able to understand the growth they need to do as an individual to make
Yeah.
sure they have a good quality, upstandable person in their life that has strong morals and values and a creed that they live by that they can collaborate with and be within the scope of complementarity that pushes them to now understanding, okay, this is the person I want to settle with. This is
Yeah.
the person I want to be married to. This is the person that I now understand. They do have flaws, but they also have great qualities. But
Yeah.
also, in turn, I have flaws and I have great qualities too. And that's why I mentioned complementarity because it's not that individual only fulfilling all of the particular tick marks you have on your laundry list of things you are requiring from said individual. It's not only about that. It's now about what quality can both of y'all get to in reference to what you're good at and what you're not good at. And be
Yeah.
honest about that. Be honest about that. And that's where the unapologetic honesty comes in, where you could be unapologetically honest and not be rude or disrespectful. You can have a conversation where
Yeah.
no profanity is involved, where you understand specific triggers of your significant other and are aware of those. You can also be unapologetically honest and still harm your significant other without any malicious intent. But that's also based on what triggers you know about your significant other compared to what triggers they are willing to disclose.
Right.
Where if they are willing to be unapologetically honest, to now delve into the aspect of vulnerability that comes with transparency, things are now within a growing process continuously. Every conversation is not going to be easy, but every conversation is needed when said spark in mind of individuals in that relationship need to have a conversation. What you think, Nat? What's your take?
So here's my thing. I like how you touched on about the definition of what the relationship was set to be in the beginning.
Hmm.
But here's the issue: a lot of relationships, unfortunately, do not start off with a clear definition of what it is. Not only that, some of them don't even have an idea of what they want it to be or how they want it structured. Most times, and this brings me to a point where I was watching earlier, I had learned earlier about Megan Good and what is his name, Devin Holly. They
Yeah, I
were
know what you're talking
married.
about. Yeah, they got divorced.
And right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I'm interested in understanding why. I thought that they were a very positive couple, honestly.
Hmm.
Um, but what I think, and I'm somebody who don't know either one of them from a can of paint, but from the outside looking in, you have two individuals who met each other because they're in the same circle. You know, he was a producer, I think, a film producer, and he's a minister or pastor. She's an actress, right? He initially said that he had this laundry list of things that he did not want, okay, when it came time to choose his mate,
Hmm.
okay. Some things on that list were things that she had or she were currently, like indulged in. So, for example, she smoked. I think it was that she smoked, and there were a few other things she drank, or whatever, And all of us do these things. I
Yeah.
don't smoke, but that's something that's a very common thing that people do.
Right.
Um, he decided that, look, these are, in his eyes, probably flaws, right? But I'm going to accept you anyway because I want to see where this goes. I want to see what happens. And I think that it was very transparent on her part about not showing who her representative was, at least not then.
Mm.
He knew that she smoked. He knew that she drank. He knew that she lived this free life. They got together, they dated, they fell in love, they got married. Now they're divorced, okay? One of my questions, I guess, I feel like I'm sure she got some backlash and some criticism from the church. I I don't know if it's been said, but Megan Good, as far as like her, like I love Megan Good. So let me just say that. I think that she should be herself authentically. I like her as an actress. I don't know her as a person.
I was about to, kind of make that distinction in reference to
Right.
what we see in the scope of entertainment compared
Right.
to what he saw in the scope of this person he is waking up
Exactly.
to every single day.
Exactly.
You know?
And here's my thing. I was reading the article earlier and I looked at a video, and it looks like they were two people that started off just like a lot of us who we see in person, we're attracted, right? Because attraction is usually first. I understand that the people say, oh, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I totally get that. But if you are not attracted to a person, are you gonna legitimately like be like, hey, can I go out with you? Can we
The
talk sometime?
first
Probably not.
the first side of attraction is physical because you
It
don't
is.
innately
It is.
you don't
Whether you think
innately
it or not,
automatically
it is.
just go up to a person and want to have a conversation without them being somewhat you're physically attracted to them,
Yeah.
somewhat. But however, the balance between physical and what's going on in the mental,
Two different things.
two different things that you have to explore. Both of them you have to
Yeah.
explore. But go ahead.
And that's that's our okay, so let me stay on one because that was about to take me into something else.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think what happened with them, and again, I don't know the situation, just kind of based on. I think you had two people that start off like a lot of people, where you see somebody, you like them, you want to see where it goes, you want to try it out. They're not everything that's on your list or everything that you want. They don't meet all of your standards or whatever, but you want to give this a shot, right? So you give it a shot and it don't work out. And you try to make it work. Now they were married, I think, for like 10 years. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel like they were just incompatible. That's just what I feel like. I feel like maybe they would have been better friends, not as much as a married couple,
Right.
right? And I feel like a lot of times, even if she and he both were being transparent, in my mind, there's another part of it that needs to happen. So you have transparency, right? And then you have acceptance or not acceptance. And if you don't accept that transparency or if you're not open to it, right? Because really transparent, if I'm being transparent with you, that means that you're giving me the opportunity. And I say that you're giving me because if I don't feel comfortable, if I don't feel like you're open to hearing what I got to say or what I have to share, I probably won't share it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's fear.
Yeah.
Now I'm scared to tell you or share with you or make myself vulnerable, right? But if I am at a place where I feel like I can actually openly share, look, I I like these types of things. I like to do this. This is really my hair. This is my hair. This is, what this is who I am. I'm being transparent. I'm sharing my emotions. I'm sharing my ideas. And uh I don't want like any repercussion after it, right? I
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be judged. I just want to be able to be open with you and honest with you and tell you what it is.
Yeah.
And of course, I want to hear, what you think about it. But you still have to, if you don't accept it, it's kind of like, and you can't half accept it because some people say, yeah, I like this, but I don't like this. And they still want to kind of make things work. If you got something, if that person has something that's a definite no on your list, if you know it's not gonna work, just leave it alone. Because what's gonna happen is that you're gonna end up wasting their time and yours, and that's just how I feel about it. If you know for a fact that you don't want kids, and you are in a relationship with somebody who does want a family, she's openly expressed, look, one day I want to have kids. Or he says, look, I want to have kids. And you're like, no, I'm not having kids. I have plans for my life. I want to travel. I want to work on my career. And and some people get into these relationships thinking, okay, I know what they said, but maybe later on they'll change their minds. And then
Does
oftentimes they don't. And so you're stuck in the situation of now I've been with this person, I have feelings for this person, it's hard to leave this person. And honestly, the dating scene right now sucks. At least in my age group, it sucks. It is nothing out there.
I
Okay,
agree.
so
I agree.
it really sucks on both ends, the women and the men. It just
It's
don't
it's
make no
it's
kind
it's
of sense.
it's horrible. Now, here's one thing I was gonna say to kind of piggyback off what you said. Uh, and I just thought about this. The the ignored the ignored selfishness within your laundry list of standards often leads to a dead end.
Yeah,
The ignored
yeah, I would.
selfishness within your laundry list of standards often leads to a dead end. Here's my thing. A lot of people believe that a lot of things on their list, and this is just one perspective, a lot of things on their list are valid.
Yeah,
Oftentimes, the laundry list really hasn't been vetted through others that they can be honest with.
yeah,
Or if they have been vetted and others have disagreed with certain particular tick marks on that laundry list, that individual is going to say something along the lines of, nah, I'm going to just still have it. However, those things are continually making you perpetually lonely. Or,
oh, absolutely,
or,
absolutely.
or,
They are.
and I'm going to explain it to you. Not only perpetually lonely, but also perpetually alone. And a lot of people don't even understand the difference between those two. Where alone, you can't hold
Yeah,
nobody, worth, a bucket of water. That bucket of water, is continually being poured out on the concrete. Okay?
yeah.
It's just, you cannot keep someone in your life whatsoever, perpetually alone. Now, perpetually lonely is in the scope if you have prospects or if you have one person you're with, and all of a sudden you can tell focus is not really there on you, but you're not willing to do examination on yourself to understand why this person is either having their focus go somewhere else, or why they're having their focus go somewhere else because maybe, just maybe, they're not the person for you specifically.
I had a conversation like that with somebody, and that is a sensitive subject, especially when you're talking about married people, right? Because when you're talking about married people, you gotta. I am an unmarried woman, right? But I have friends who are married.
Yeah.
And if one of my friends come to me and say that they're unhappy with something that's going on in their marriage, I can't, I can only listen to what they're telling me. I'm only listening to one side, first of all. I
Yeah.
don't know what the side is
You
saying. So
don't,
I
you
can
don't,
only, kind of uh, gather what I'm thinking from just hearing one side of the story. But in my mind, I'm thinking, did you not see this before you were married? Or maybe because I'm also not a believer of, okay, because I don't want to get into another subject. What I feel like some people are in the position they're in because, for one, especially a lot of women, I can definitely speak for a lot of women. You have a lot of women out here who just want to be in a relationship. Honestly, they don't know why. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they need.
let
They
me
just don't know what
I
they
think
want.
I could give a couple of reasons, and I'm gonna just put this out there, give a couple of reasons why a lot of women only just want to be in a relationship, but they try to define it as, oh, this is something I'm building. When in actuality, a lot of it is just based on the aspect of not having a certain amount of attention for a certain period of time. And then when you gain attention, you want that attention to continually come to you, even if the attention is traumatic or toxic. That's one aspect of why certain women, not all, because some but all, right? Some but not all, certain women out here, attention often is the reason, often is the catalyst to their need of being in a relationship.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'll even go a step further to say I'm guilty of that. And here's why. Here's why. Here's why. Because
Transparency.
I'm being very transparent now.
Right.
And this is a conversation that I recently had in my relationship. Okay.
Okay.
Not about transparency, but about attention. Right?
Okay.
When you and this was a conversation, it was a very open conversation. I expressed some things and he expressed some things. At the end of the conversation, we both had a clear understanding of what we both needed out of that particular situation.
Yeah.
But women do like attention, right? But there are different types of attention. Okay, let me just say that you've got attention, unwanted attention. Okay, and then you got some women who want attention, just attention, period, so bad that they draw unwanted attention.
You have attention. You have. I'll put it out. I'm gonna put out some categories. You have sexism attention. Okay. You have
Yeah.
you have platonic attention, right?
Platonic attention. You have to break that down because when I'm thinking about platonic attention, it's probably not what you
Okay.
are
Here, and
thinking.
this is my take on platonic attention. Okay. There's a woman that knows that she likes a man, but she's not willing to be vulnerable enough to disclose how much she likes him in the scope of him disclosing first whether or not he likes her. So
Absolutely.
what hear me out. Hear me out.
Absolutely.
Let me expound. Let me expound.
Go ahead. Go
Hear
ahead.
me
Go ahead.
out.
Go ahead. Let's
Then what she ends up doing, because she knows she likes him, she doesn't necessarily want to be in a relationship with him because he hasn't disclosed certain things that she needs from him yet.
Yeah.
So what she does is she'll put him in a friend zone.
Mm-hmm.
She'll put him in the friend zone, and then she will kind of keep him on the back burner because obviously they know they like each other. However, she's not ready to be vulnerable enough to open up in other ways that's more catering to him because he is not catering to her in the ways that she needs.
Mm-hmm.
So the friend zone thing will happen, and let's just say he ends up finding someone he really likes aside from her. And now the other dynamic is more collaborative. It's more
Mm-hmm.
molded within the scope of, passion, all that other
Yeah.
shit, right? And now she knows about said relationship, but she understands that's still my friend and he will always be my friend. So
Mm-hmm.
she may end up putting certain nuggets, and I say nuggets because it might be spurts of, how can I say, hate that she's projecting toward said woman that is with him now. But she won't say it in that aspect. What she'll do is she'll probably put out certain nuggets like, are you sure she's for you? That's a nugget, a negative nugget. Or, well, if she did that, then maybe y'all weren't really meant to be together. That's another nugget. You know, this is breaking down by way of proxy. Breaking down someone you have no clue about by way of proxy, like through someone else, and now all of a sudden he may end up doing something stupid and getting rid of a woman that really was for him
Yeah.
based on a friendship because of a lie that that woman is continually telling herself.
Yeah.
Platonic. I'm just saying. It
No,
valid,
no,
not
I hear
valid.
you. I hear you.
And I've seen the shit happen too many times. Not only in the scenario I just spoke on, but then in other dynamics too. Because it can happen in the dynamic of, I'll put in this perspective, in the workplace. Oh,
It happens in the workplace very often.
very
Very, and
often.
I think it happens in the workplace often. First of all, I personally think they should. I get why they have a like the golden rule of you're not supposed to date anyone you work with. And but I think that I don't know. I feel like it would make it somewhat easier for people if they lifted that because I feel like
I've
but then
I've
I
I've
think it would be
lifted
a
it.
little harder too. I'm just like, I
I've
feel
lifted it.
like,
I've lifted it in dynamics of going into previous relationships. Like I've dated people I've worked with. I've been in a relationship with someone I've worked with. It
yeah,
still didn't work out because I think transparency to myself, I think I was still somewhat a little bit immature, to be able to deal with
hmm
that dynamic. In addition to maybe the other person also was a little bit immature in dealing with that dynamic. In addition to, you know, us not being able to understand the reasons why we were together, you know,
yeah,
the reasons why, or solidifying those reasons, how you spoke on earlier when it comes down to solidify in the very beginning, okay, how do we define this? Oftentimes you have
Yeah.
people will say, well, let's just see how things work. Or let's just see what happens. You know, where it's like, okay, that's going to happen innately. However, let's define what the fuck this is. You know, are we trying to just be in a relationship? Are we just fucking? You know what I'm saying? Or are we looking for someone that we want to spend the rest of our life with? You know? Are we willing to have conversations in reference to the path toward that solidified ring on fingers?
Yeah.
You know?
I think that the ring is getting too much pressure. I really do. I feel like people are being not people are being pressured because I don't think that anything should pressure you into, but I think that the word marriage is just pressuring people. And it's like this thing, it's like this cloud. At least for females, at least for women. I'm 36 and I'm not married. I don't feel like it's a cloud over my head, but I do feel like it's something I haven't done yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, but I just can't do it, and I just it's not that I can't do it, but I can't do it. It's like I don't want to just get married, right?
I
I believe in your traditional marriage. I don't believe in divorce.
mhm,
I believe if we get married, I'm gonna do everything in my absolute power to make it work,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I believe. I wholeheartedly believe that. And that's one of the reasons why I have made a choice to not have children.
Mm.
And some other reasons why. That's why I don't have children right now.
Here
That was a personal choice, you know? So,
here's one big thing that I would say, and I've even told my wife this. The the fad of marriage based on the conditioning of various I can say this, various group based activities has left a archaic way of thinking about it.
I agree. I also want to add that people are already living. Here's what I think is wrong. Some people are already living married lives and not married. Like, for example, you got people who are, prime example, me and my boyfriend. We're doing everything that you would normally do if you were
You were
married,
married.
but we're not married. So it's kind of like, what is, we live in the same household, right? We both share the same financial responsibilities. We travel, we do everything as an item, but we're not married. And it's kind of like, I feel like I missed a step. You see what I'm saying?
However, you're both are living in your own truth as far as the creation and modifications of how y'all define y'all relationship. And
Right. Yeah.
that can still go within the scope of how y'all will eventually, let's just say he pops the question, how y'all will
Yeah.
eventually define y'all marriage.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people, I'll put it like this. People don't know how to understand the power of definition, the power of defining, you know? And also people don't understand how to let others not be all up in their shit as far as the definition that they have created with their significant other. That's their significant other. And your significant other has a significant other, which is you. So how y'all define shit is not the definitions of other people,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
it will
There
never
was,
be.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it should never be. You know?
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that, have that level of confidence of, okay, we're going to talk things out. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to work through things that are difficult to work through. We're going to have those difficult conversations because inevitably we have taken on this duty.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage, and let me put this out there for all the dummies out in the universe. Marriage, at the end of the day, no matter what dynamic you have it in, is a duty. It's a duty. No matter if it's monogamous, no matter if it's poly, all different types of poly, you still are having the duty to go to another person or other people in the scope of a commitment.
So let me just touch on Polly real quick. I
Okay.
got to touch on Polly.
All right.
I was watching Jada Pinkett Smith has like the red talk table, right?
Oh
And
boy,
her
you gonna
daughter
bring
Willow Smith.
you gonna bring
Her
her up?
daughter,
Yeah.
they
All right.
had a hold on,
All right.
they had a conversation about being polyamorous.
Mm-hmm.
Her daughter Willow is polyamorous. At least she was during this taping. I don't know if her status has changed, but she was polyamorous during that during that taping. Now, the funniest part of this, I shouldn't say funny, the most entertaining part of this whole thing was that her grandmother, Jada's mother, and I think that she looks fantastic. I really do. I
Mm-hmm.
think Bam was great. Anyway, I don't know what she's
Especially all the
drinking
stuff that I mean
her
she's been
water.
through.
I'm like,
She's
what's
been
she
through
drinking?
all the stuff she's been through in her life, and now to where she
Yeah,
is now. Okay, she looking.
yeah.
I put it out there. She looks sexy. She looks sexy for her age.
She looked good. I was like,
However,
God,
I
great.
don't say she
You
looks
know,
sexy for her age as a diss. I say that because
no,
go ahead, grandma, keep on taking care of yourself now. You know?
she's doing well.
Yeah.
She's doing well. Um, Willow was basically trying to explain what polyamorous was. She had a few guests on the show who were also polyamorous. You had one guy on there who was married and he had a girlfriend. Okay, you had
Mm-hmm.
one person on there who was a woman and she was in two relationships. But what was weird was that she was in one relationship with a girl, one relationship with a guy. The guy was married
Mm-hmm.
to a girl, and then the girl had a boyfriend. And that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
The most entertaining part is that everything they said, Bam was like, Grandma, Bam was like, I am struggling. She was like, I'm struggling because it just sounds like it's founded on sex. And she's like, I can't. She's like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand. You can see Willow getting a bit frustrated trying to explain to her how it works.
Yeah.
While I get both sides, I also understand where Bam was coming from too, right? But here's my thing. I feel like those who are polyamorous are living in their true selves. Okay. You've got married people, you straight, gay, whatever, you've got people in relationships who are going outside of those relationships to get whatever they're not getting in that relationship.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are living a polyamorous lifestyle, but it's not open. It's not being openly discussed. They're doing it behind your back. They're cheating, however you define cheating. But if you define cheating that way, then that's what they're doing. They just don't want to tell you for whatever reason, whether they think it's going to hurt your feelings, it's going to hurt the relationship. I've heard so many I've heard so many excuses
It's
about just like,
if you're
so
in
I mean that's how I think about it. I feel like a lot of people are living polyamorously, if I can use it that
that's
way. They're just not.
I was about to bring
Yeah,
that up. A lot of people are poly without the title.
I said
A lot of
that.
people are poly
Yes.
without the title, but the reason why is because they have decided to not live in their true self based on how
Yeah,
society is groomed. Society it states, especially when it comes down to the religious piece. Society tells
that's a
us
whole different.
society tells us like
We
basic
ain't got enough time for that.
bare minimum American society. It tells us, well, you grow up, you meet the person that you're going to fall in love with, and then that person you need to get married to. And then when you get married, you have kids only with that person. And then once y'all have kids, y'all grow old, happy together, and then y'all pass away, and then the cycle continues. they don't talk about all the details of true relationships in
Yeah.
reality. Let's be real about it.
Yeah.
Cause I will say this. Yeah.
Grandma called, grandma kept a whole lot of secrets. Okay. Grandma
Grandma
basically
and
told me,
granddad. Grandma and grand hey,
I
Nat.
can't, we ain't
Nat.
even got enough time.
Nat, Nat,
Okay.
Nat.
Wait.
I got something to share right now, but I'm gonna wait until another episode to expound upon it. I just recently found out last week that I have another uncle
That's an example right there.
from from the dynamic of my grandmother's children. Meaning my grandfather had a
Oh.
child with another woman outside
Mhm.
of my of outside of the marriage that I knew about, which was
Mhm.
grandma and granddad. Now,
Mhm.
found out about the uncle because my uncle's child got in contact with all of us and steadily is getting in contact with all of us through ancestry.com.
Oh, we had a similar situation with that in my family. Yeah.
Where my whole thing is, I know of course more details about it in reference to what grandma knew and what granddad knew. Both of them apparently had one marriage prior to them being married. Also, both of them actually grew up together. So
Okay.
it was like, okay, first marriage didn't work out. We coming together. We gonna do this thing.
Mhm.
That's essentially how it happened. Now, the question is, why could not I have known about my uncle? Here's another thing. My uncle, him and I have the same name because I was named after my grandfather.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So all my years, and this is one thing I went to mom's and I was like, "Hey mom, you never told me you had another brother." And she was like, "Yeah, I told you when you were younger. You probably forgot." Mom, the reason why I'm saying you never told me was because all of my life you told me that I was the second, not the third.
Mhm.
And she was like, "But still, I told you." And I was like, "You know what?"
Stick to your story. Stick to your story.
I was like, "You know what?" I just told her. I just told. This is what I told her. I was like, "Mom, that's probable," and I just left it alone.
Oh my
I
gosh.
just left it alone. Now, let's think about how I would even say this. There are a lot more people this day and age in this modern era that are willing to be transparent, but they're willing to
Yeah.
be transparent in the scope of just living their best individual life. They're not willing to be transparent in the scope of being able to build something with another human being or other human beings.
I think because this is something that I have learned and I have been in my fair share of relationships. I think that a lot of it, depending on how long you have been single, will really will really it makes being in a relationship even like the more challenging. I can't
Mm,
stress that enough
you used
because you're
to
used to doing things on your own. You're on
your
your own
own
time.
way, on your own terms.
You that is like the most that can make being in a getting into in any kind of relationship very challenging for you and the other person.
Yeah.
And if you're getting into a relationship or you're pursuing a relationship with someone who has been in a relationship and you have not, and you've been single, y'all already just
Y'all got some
doomed.
work to do. Y'all got
Y'all
some
got
work to do.
some things to kind of talk about before you even talk about being in a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
And that conversation sometimes never happens. Sometimes it does. For example, one time I will never forget, I met this guy This was years ago. I was leaving the house. I was going to the store, right?
Mm-hmm.
My plan was to go to the store and get something and come back home. Well, this guy tried to, when he was talking to me, I met him in the store. He basically asked me for, I think he asked, could he call me, right?
Yeah.
And I said, why? And it's funny. I said that, and I said, why did I say that? Not because I'm a black scorned woman, not because I'm a black angry woman, not because I think all men are dogs. But I genuinely want to know, what do you want my number for?
Right.
What are you gonna do with it? Oh God, I just saw something scary on this daggone thing. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Let me, Lord Jesus. Okay. I'm scared of scary movies. I can't take it.
Okay.
But I wanted to know what he wanted,
Mm.
right? Now, this may have been a big question in the store that day, but for me, it wasn't. I was like, no, I need to know what you want right now. I need to know before I get back home. And I really meant it.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, I said, why do you want my number? And he said, so I could call you. I said, well, I get that. What do you want? Why do you want to call
After
me?
you
What do you want to
call
call me?
me,
What do you want
what's
to call
gonna be
me
the
for?
conversation? What you
And he
gonna
looked at
say?
me and he was like, "Well, that's what people do." He said, I saw you. I like what I see, and I just want." That's what he said. He said, "And I'm asking you for your number." And I said, "While I hear what you're saying, and I know I'm making this real hard for you right
You making it
now,
difficult as hell for this guy. But okay,
but
continue.
I gotta do it, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Thank all the sorry ass men that came before you for this moment right here. But it's unfortunately it's very true. That by itself is very true. I'm like, okay, I might give you my number, but if I give you my number, you might call, you might not call, right?
Right.
I'm gonna be anticipating this call, or I'm not. I really don't know how I feel about calling. And then when you call, what are we gonna talk about? Do you want to know what my favorite color is? It's olive green. Do you want to know how many kids I got? I don't have any. Okay. And then if I tell you I don't have any, then you think it's a whole, oh, you just hit the jackpot. Okay. It's a whole thing. I know what you're thinking right now.
I
But anyway, I basically gave him the whole thing. I said, look, my name is such and such. I don't have any children. I work every day. I don't have a lot of time. I like to travel. I am not planning on losing weight right now, but I plan on doing it in the future. So don't ask me about that. I was like, I mean, seriously, this is my first time ever
honesty,
doing this
transparency. All
for
right.
your ass.
Yeah.
Okay. After all that, I said, would you still like my number? he said, well, after this is exactly what he said. He said, well, now that you put it like that, and I was like, I didn't put it like anything. I just told you what it was.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to hear on the phone when you call me, and I don't feel like answering all them damn questions. So, do you still want my number or not? No, I'm not inviting you over for dinner. If you want to take me out, it needs to be out on a date, and now I'm not paying. Seriously, I can't. It is very. When he looked at me, he was like, "Damn!" I was like, I can't do it."
Honesty for your ass.
And he basically looked at me. He said, "Well, what did he say? He said he was in between jobs. I got transparency back.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't." He said, "Now that you put it like that," he said, "I'm in between jobs. I think he said he lived on his own, but he's gonna have to move in with his sister." Anyway, he gave me what I gave him back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we ended up actually exchanging numbers. It did not turn into a relationship, but it turned into I'm still friends with him. That was like I think 10 or 11 years ago. We
Mm-hmm.
still talk all the time. So that was transparency in the moment where I gave him who I was, just a summary of what you're gonna get when you call me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you're not gonna get. No, you're not getting no ass. You might get some ass, depends on how I feel about it. Right? But if you shall get some ass, if the ass shall be got, that shall not mean that I shall enter into a relationship. And you shall enter into a relationship with this ass that you've gotten.
Hey
Right?
yo, hey that is
I'm just
perfect.
saying. That's
That
transparency.
is perfect for a t-shirt. If ass should be got. Yo. Oh man. But I mean, yeah.
I'm just being honest. And here's another thing about how women, where women fear to be transparent, specifically women, is sex, especially when you first meet a guy, because your mother tells you, your grandmother tells you, look, don't give out all the popsicles for free. I forget what that saying was called, but
Mm.
it basically means don't, wait. Just wait and see with the guy. Call me what you want to call me. I don't give a shit what any of y'all say about me, but I don't believe in that. I think that you should go. I believe emotions. Well, no, I'm not gonna say emotions shall lead you because that's not what I want to say. But I think that when it comes to
the
sex
natural
specifically,
dynamic the natural
yes,
dynamic of
of,
sex
yeah,
is the aspect of connection with another human being.
yeah,
Connection with another human being, and a lot of and this is one of the things I can't stand, the aspect of how the mindset toward women obviously is going to be different because of how the society that we live in, where women have to be all not to disclose how they feel about sex and
yeah.
like all that shit, but then men, we can do whatever the fuck we want to. Nah, like
I think that's where the double
that's
standard
that's that's
is.
that's sucker shit.
Yeah,
That's sucker
it
shit to
is.
me. Like
It is.
my thing is, it's like, okay, on both sides, because in my personal opinion, sex should be normalized in the conversation. In addition to that, hear me out. In addition to that, there should not be a stigma placed on a specific gender in not speaking on certain things. You know?
I could speak on that for hours, and I say that because I was
Right.
before we started to record. I was looking at something, and it basically said that in that transparency, when it comes to being intimate, it shows that those who are transparent in relationship, it helps to grow intimacy.
Yeah.
You see, and I'm just like, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And
The,
a lot of people don't understand what intimacy is. Some people define intimacy
as
as like
only
intimacy
sex.
equals sex. I was
Yeah,
like,
as
that's
only
what
sex.
it
Motherfuckers be out
equals.
there, just all of a sudden they literally believe that
Yeah,
intimacy alone is intercourse. And
yeah,
it's not.
yeah,
Intimacy is a spectrum. Like,
yeah. It
it can
is.
go from I give you a couple examples. It's one of the things that I do that my wife had to pinpoint to me that I did. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. So
Okay, go ahead.
so this is what happens. So the way I drive. I'm driving the car, she's in the passenger seat, right? Beside me. And I like to drive with my left hand, you know, but I'll periodically take, my right hand off the stick or on the stick off the stick. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to, changing gears, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I didn't even realize I did it until my wife started telling me I was doing it. Because it was a couple of drives that she literally eventually told me, and she was like, "Yeah, you do it all the time, but I don't mind." And I was like, "All right, cool." She told me that automatically after I take my hand off the stick, I automatically put it on her left thigh,
Okay.
and I just
Wait, do you think that you're touching something else? Because that's the funny part.
no,
Did,
no,
oh,
I rest
okay.
my hand on her left thigh.
Okay,
However,
okay.
I didn't know I was doing it until she told me I was doing it.
Okay,
You know what I'm
okay.
saying? But
Yeah,
that's one dynamic within the spectrum of intimacy.
yeah,
And a lot of people
yeah.
don't get it. Like another thing, um, where to give another example, another thing that I did, and my wife told me, "Oh, you do this too," you know, where before we eat dinner, if I cook dinner or she cooks dinner or we cook dinner together, before we eat dinner, I always, go to her and I will put my hands on her shoulders and tell her I love her, and then I will
Hmm.
sit down for us to eat. And
Okay.
I did it several times, but she had to notify me I did it. I was just doing it, you know? Be it before we prayed, be it if we didn't pray, you know? It
Yeah.
was just a thing. It's just a thing that I did. Or I would do always do something when it came down to touching her prior to us, eating. So that's intimacy too, you know? However, intimacy is not just in the scope of touching. Intimacy could be in the scope of
Yeah.
language too. What you say out of your mouth.
There is power in the tongue. There is
Oh,
power in the tongue.
in various ways, there's
Yeah.
definitely power in the tongue.
Yeah.
Be it touch or speech. So,
Amen. Amen.
so, you know,
We all know about the this joke. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just laughing. I'm just laughing because do you remember? So I think was it a month or 2 months ago where this pastor got a whole lot. He went viral because he was basically performing oral sex on this lady.
oh
Do you ever remember that? Somebody on Facebook.
yeah.
I was going through my Facebook feed and somebody said, I don't know what all the fuss is about. She's like, Pastor so and so is the only one out here doing the Lord's work. I was like, oh
Yo,
my God.
yo, like
I was
here,
like,
here's
oh my God.
here
But
pastors, and in the United States, there's a huge stigma with
sometimes I feel bad for the pastors.
how pastors, reverends,
Ladies, you don't know.
preachers, priests, there's a stigma of how, in the United States specifically, how ones, of the cloth, I'll just say of the cloth, kind of go across the board. Ones of the
Yeah.
cloth, you know, what they do either behind closed doors or, in public. You know what I'm saying?
Which is no different from what everybody else do.
It's no different.
You know.
However, because they are within that
Yeah.
status, and it doesn't matter if they're man or woman,
Yeah.
because they're within that status, we found out that Pastor so and so did a couple of videos in reference to liking, kielbasa cheese. Like it's like what? Like what the fuck? Like what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden
Yeah.
the motherfuckers are gonna be curious, like, oh, where the videos at? Like most people would be curious, but
Yeah.
it's like prawn. I'm saying prawn for a reason because I don't want to say the other word. Prawn,
Yeah.
right? It's like prawn where people watch it, but often because it's taboo, ain't nobody going to talk about it, not unless they really know it will benefit them to talk about it.
Let me just share a personal story on that. I'm gonna just share this, and it's gonna be real quick. It's gonna be real brief. I met a guy. We hit it off. Not hit it off in a physical sense. I mean, like our conversation was, we kind of meshed well. Anyway. We did a weekend together, I think, and that topic came up, and I asked him if I think he actually voluntarily told me he offered the information of he did not engage in it, right? It didn't do anything for him. I was like, okay, if I would,
Okay.
just ask him.
Okay.
I went to work, came home one day. He was still in my apartment at this time because I had to. He wasn't leaving to go back home until the next day, so he was still there. So all the dummies out there who watch Prawn, well, you know what? Don't just turn off the TV, okay? You gotta turn off the. Well,
Oh
nowadays.
wait. Was it a VHS or a DVD
Oh my God! It was a
or
what's it?
Blu-ray?
It was a DVD at this time. That's
Okay.
how old this was. It was a DVD. The TV was turned. Hold on, I
Don't
came
just
to
turn
the
the TV
house.
off. The image is still there especially if you press pause. Like if you press pause, did you press pause?
I got something better. I came in. He's standing at the bathroom door like this, like I don't. And I'm like, are you okay? He said, yes. Are you sure? He's like, yeah, yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. He's looking around. I said, okay, all right, you be cool. And I go put my purse down and I look at the TV. It was really quiet in there. First of all, red flag, fellas, red flag. It ain't that quiet in there. Okay, so y'all in here just in the quietness. I look at the TV. The TV's off, but there is a little blue light on. Okay, turn off the damn DVD player. Don't just turn off the TV. I turned on the TV. Everything is everywhere. Okay, Gone Wild is on the TV. And so, but here's how it flipped. It doesn't bother me at all. It never did. It never will. It's just not. I'm not that kind of person. But to some people, I get why it may make them feel uncomfortable. But I only think it makes people feel uncomfortable when they are not being them true selves, when they're not given an opportunity to be transparent and really share what they feel.
Or
And
also with that, they're not given the opportunity to be transparent, express what they feel, in addition to explore things that they have
yeah,
thought about that they would like to do with someone else.
exactly. Exactly. When I asked him, I said, "Oh, so you like this?" And he was like, "Well," I said, "Stop lying because it's on TV, so I know you like it." I said, "It doesn't bother me. I'm just asking you." Anyway, to make a long story short and to make this real clean, we kept watching it, but I kind of flipped things around. Anyways, and it turned out for the better. For both of you are good. Okay. And at the end of it, after it was all said and done, he basically was happy about it. He was comfortable in sharing with me some of the things he liked. And it turned out that I probably turned out to be the biggest,
Don't claim that. Don't claim
I'm
that.
not going there. I'm not going
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
What
yeah.
I will say is that you never know what you're going to find out about that person if you're not open and honest about the things that you like or the things that you want. You're never going to know.
The
You
biggest
guys may
thing.
share the same ideas, or you might find something that just don't work for you. It's like, no, I don't like that,
the
or I do like that.
the
But how do you know? And that's just one aspect of it. And let's just say adult entertainment is the oldest industry. It is the oldest, most money making industry that is
It is because of
criticized.
how
And I don't know.
it is because of how they're able to capitalize on people's insecurities and inability to be honest with themselves.
Yeah.
That's how they making money. Let's be real about it. I mean, they're making money through other psychological dynamics, you know.
Yeah.
However, someone who can't get what they need from their significant other, either they gon' let's be real about it. Either if porn didn't exist, either they going out to go find
And
what the fuck
yeah,
they
to go
want,
find it.
or they can have the fantasy without the regret or the
Yeah.
guilt.
And I also say that if you are I'm not going to delve too much into this subject too much,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say that it also leaves open your imagination. I believe in imagination. I think that as a child, as we used to have, like, we didn't have
I
enough
agree.
money to have a dollhouse, right?
Yeah,
So we would make a dollhouse out of VHS tapes.
yeah. Make shift.
In our
Do what you
mind, it
need to
was a
do.
legit dollhouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had the tapes. We had anything we could use to make like the bed and the kitchen. We had dolls, but we didn't have like the doll house. Then we had to pretend like we had a car. So we had taken our bikes. We put children like four chairs. We used to take our bikes and flip the bike upside down and pretend like the bike wheel was our steering wheel.
Right. Facts.
That is imagination, something I don't think kids these days got at all because the phone exists. Because the
I
technology has taken, I think that today's technology has stripped the imagination of the child to some degree. Because I'm like, I could be in, I could be in Barbie's
it,
playland
it's
as a
made
kid.
it's
You
made
know,
it's made kids less resilient.
yeah,
It's made kids less resilient. However, resiliency is, can be learned. It can be learned.
It can, yeah,
Either
yeah, it can
as
be.
young as you can, build it, or it's gonna happen eventually at a certain age. You know. However, the type of resiliency may not be as it may not delve into the dynamics of trying to create something out of nothing, but it may delve into the dynamics of being able to look up some information on something, so now you know what materials you need to buy to be able to create something.
Yeah,
You know, where
yeah,
the I'll put it like this: today's generation, they're very smart. They're very
yeah.
smart. However, they don't understand organic interaction, like organic
No,
interaction,
that's a whole different
and
subject.
being
What's going
and
on with
being
that?
as honest in that dynamic versus only being honest online. You know, because I mean, we got what I like to call the keyboard warriors. You know what I'm saying? That just are
Yeah,
willing to talk shit. You know what I'm saying? Online, but they would never say it in your face.
yeah,
This generation is being groomed to only talk shit online, but they don't know how to fight.
yeah. I've seen. I have entertained myself watching a whole. I mean, you would have thought it was a whole brawl going on outside. It is on social media where people are literally arguing back and forth, tit for tat, and people just. I'm
I
like, what is this like a social media
I'll
fight?
say I'll make I'll say
What is going
this is my
on?
dynamic. This is my dynamic of telephone. I'll put it like that. This is my dynamic
I'm
of
like, she
telephone.
gonna do what? What did
You
he
say something. You say something based on what I said. I'm gonna respond to it,
do?
and then if you respond again, then I'm gonna respond, letting you know I'm not continuing on with this. But then I know you're gonna respond to my response and saying me not continuing on with this, but I don't continue on because that's what I said I'm not gonna do. You know, where I didn't grow up in that generation of just clicking away. You know what I'm saying? Doing that sucker shit,
Yeah,
just type in words. Nah, like eventually, because a lot of people say a lot of repugnant shit online that
yeah.
if you said it to somebody to their face, you would get stolen.
I think I was telling my niece that she's 10 and she's a good girl, but she, like kids, especially girls, girls can be kind of cliquish. So they get into these cliques and then they're laughing at other people. And I'm not saying she does this,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. I try to explain to her it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're with a group of people who are doing it, you are just as
You're just
responsible
as
as they are.
guilty as the ones
And
that's your
she's like, "Well,
clique.
I wasn't." I
That's
said, "It doesn't
that's who you
matter.
roll
That does
with.
not matter."
Because at the
Yeah,
end of the day, there's gonna be other people that are gonna be in other cliques, and they're gonna be looking
yeah,
at you as if your identity is that clique.
exactly, exactly. And I told her, I said, listen, I get that y'all do things a little bit differently these days, but if you run up on a girl that was raised by an old school mother, okay, who taught her a little differently, you better have those hands ready
Right.
because
Hands, feet,
everybody does not,
hands,
um,
hands,
you
feet,
know,
hands, feet, grabbing skills,
you better have it ready. I said, because
all of
everybody,
that.
it's not like that. And she looked at me with these big old bug eyes, and she's like, I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm not playing. I'm not
When
playing.
when play
Like,
like
and they will sneak up on you. It's no rules to it
they
either.
will
You
sneak
better be
you. They
ready.
will sneak you for the benefit of uh replenishing their honor.
Yeah. I'm like, and in their mind, sometimes all they think is, I just got to get one. They catch you by yourself
Right.
because you were with that other group. They don't care whether, if you were with them and they were all laughing, you are with them. In their minds,
Yeah.
you are one of them. And
You
so they
wanted you
have an
wanted their
opportunity.
homies. You wanted their homies. So all
Yeah.
right,
So
all right.
I'm going to get you,
I'm gonna catch you by yourself.
Exactly.
I'm gonna
She
catch
was
you
like,
by yourself
I
because
said, not,
by
for real.
yourself.
Look at you
See if you
guys.
talk that
You
shit then.
know,
See if you talk that shit then. You know.
yeah. And I said, it's a different ball game. It's not the same. And I know that we should be wrapping up now, but I'm gonna just touch
Yeah.
on this real quick. I don't think that transparency should only be in romantic relationships or platonic. I also think that it's a big issue in parent relationships with their kids.
Of
I
course.
don't think that a lot of parents are being transparent with their kids and vice versa. I don't think kids are being transparent with their parents. But I think most times it's out of fear on the kid's side.
It's the
Like,
parent
when
who has to facilitate that
yeah,
realm of transparency for the children to be comfortable enough.
yeah,
And I would
yeah,
even say this, the parent has to show comfort for the child to learn comfort.
yeah.
You know?
And that ain't
Like I
that ain't
my whole thing is at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want to say. Just be respectful in saying it. Be
And
respectful.
that is something that I love that my sister does with her daughter. That's exactly
You
what
can
she
say
said.
whatever
She
you
said,
want to
you can
say,
say what you want to say,
but be
but you,
respectful in saying what the
yeah,
fuck you saying. If you
yeah,
as soon as you give disrespect,
then
it's out the window. It's like
it's
I'm now
good.
thinking about the
Yeah,
disrespect and having to correct that versus thinking about the context
exactly,
in what you're saying that you're doing from a comforting
exactly,
place.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
now
Yeah,
I gotta do corrections. I have to do that versus saying, oh, okay, I get what you're saying because so and so at school did this, and you didn't like it this way because of certain things that happened to you because of this. Like now I can't have that train of thought because now I'm just
right,
thinking my daughter done fucking disrespected me. I'm gonna have to whoop that
right.
ass.
Yeah.
Whoop that ass. Like nah. I'm not immediately going to go to ass whooping depending
No,
on
but
what is
you
said though.
have to correct that. Like that's where your
Right. I
mind
gotta
goes.
correct.
I need to
I got
correct
the
this
way I look
first
at it.
because this is out of control.
I gotta correct the disrespect. So
Right.
now, after correcting the disrespect, because I know my mind, after correcting the disrespect, and now
Yeah.
understanding the reason why I had to correct it. Now we can go back into the transparency because I don't now want you to get cut off from the transparency that
Yeah.
you're now trying to be comfortable in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I I agree because I remember I saw we were looking at somebody and these two girls were talking or whatever, and one of the girls had clapped at the other girl, and my niece looked at me and I said, don't do that. Don't be clapping at people. I was like, certain language read different. I'm like, if you clapping at somebody,
Sign language or spoken
that's
language.
not okay. That's not good because
You
that
don't
means that you're
know
taking that conversation to a different
you
level.
don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
You
I'm
don't
like,
know how
your hands
somebody
are
else.
moving. I'm like, well, why your hands moving? Put your hands to your
You
side.
don't
Have a
know.
conversation with your hands to the side.
You don't know
When you
how
start moving
somebody.
like this, it's different. You know.
You don't know how somebody is going to be triggered, because
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
may do has nothing. Like their perception of what you're doing has nothing to do with you. It has everything
Yeah.
to do with
Exactly.
whatever the fuck they
Exactly.
went through. And now, since you brought them back to that memory, oh yeah, now your ass need to be whooped just because you brought them back to that memory.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed this conversation today. I think this is a
I
conversation a lot
I
of
did
people should
too.
have.
Yeah.
I really do. And I even think that if it comes down to it, that we could do I don't know another part of it, but
Yeah.
I think that we touched on a lot of stuff, like the relationship aspect, the parenting. We kind of touched on the parenting aspect of it, but this goes long.
I
There's a lot of
think
transparency and a lot of different, you know.
I think we should do a part two, but the
Yeah.
part two is now going to be transparency in things that you messed up on and how comfortable your significant other, or talking about the dynamic of parents, how comfortable they would be in you sharing something in comfort that they wouldn't be comfortable with.
That's a good one. I
That
don't,
I and I got a few ideas, but nevertheless, I'm,
yeah.
I'm Frank. We got Nat. Real Raw Exchange Podcast. Y'all take it easy. Have a wonderful week.
Have a good week. Bye.